having a channel about relocation and living abroad and visiting the world and exploring your options and showing off what it's like to live abroad, as someone who's lived in many countries and now settled into one, but regardless of what country we're talking about, just the very idea that you can pack up, move abroad, and live potentially a better life, if not a different one or a more exciting one. With all of this, like I said, it goes without saying, there's going to be a certain number of people, not the average by any stretch, but a certain subset, who's going to either see these videos or seek them out and is going to be really upset by the fact that other people are getting to live abroad or live in a new country or do something exciting. And I want to address this a little bit because you're going to see, and probably have seen in the comments, people suddenly lashing out in ways that don't really make a lot of sense. But I think that there is a pretty simple explanation for this and an important message that I have for not all, but the majority of those people that is really something that people need to hear. I'm Scott Allen Miller. I am a full-time immigrant living in Nicaragua. I have lived all over the world. I have been on the road with my family for a very long time, and so I represent a segment of the population that is exceptionally free and just flexible and enjoying life in a way that so many people wish that they could. So we're going to talk about how you can apply that to you, and more importantly for most of you, how you can apply it to other people you see when you consider this and when they lash out at you or you get negative responses or you see nasty posts in the forums. There's some things I think you need to know. So we're going to talk about that right after the bump. For my wonderful audience here who live inside my little GoPro box, the majority of you are in a position in your lives where you are either able to live abroad, getting close to being able to live abroad, thinking about living abroad, dreaming about living abroad, or maybe just investigating because maybe you'd like to live abroad, or perhaps you simply find those of us who do interesting. That's awesome. So most of you have this really great position and reason for being watching these videos. But there is a subset of people who watch these videos, who see them and are feeling angry or jealous of those of us who are doing this. And for many people, generally not those of you who are watching these videos, but for a great number of the population, and this is any population anywhere in the world, you can't find a country where this isn't true. You can find some where it's a little bit less true, but in general, it's far more true than it is ever untrue. And that is that the average person, for whatever reason, will never be able to live abroad. The average person will probably never be able to travel abroad. Going to the point where people have packed up, taken their families, and completely set up a life in a new country, even if we took all the people who wanted to do that, it would be far less than half the population. But of those that remain, of those that can't, either it's they simply feel trapped. Maybe their family won't let them move, or they have family obligations that keep them from being able to move. Maybe they have jobs that just there's no way to get another job. There's no way to come up with the financial resources to be independent or to move to a new country and take a job there, or to take your job with you, or to work remotely, or whatever it would take. Maybe they are scared. They're scared of leaving their country. They're scared of experiencing the world outside. They just don't know. They feel fear. This is really common. And I'm sure for those of you who have not yet actually lived in other countries, or at least spent a lot of time there, majority of you still feel this fear. Probably not a crippling fear if you're part of my audience, but possibly. But for the people who aren't watching these shows, many people have a truly crippling fear of moving abroad, or their spouse does, or their children do, or their family members have those fears about someone else doing it, and so forth. There are so many reasons that people either are legitimately trapped where they are, that's real, or they fear that they are trapped. And there are many people who fear retribution from their government, fear that they won't be given a passport, fear that they will lose benefits when they move abroad, fear what would happen to them in a new country. There's all kinds of fears, not just the general fear of change or experience or new cultures. And some people just dislike experiencing new things, right? Living here in Nicaragua, an example we often give is that Nicaraguans rarely like experiencing new food, or if they do, they like experiencing it one time, but they don't end up really liking the food. They'll do it out of interest. Ooh, I've never had sushi before. They'll try sushi and go, I'm so glad I tried it. I don't want to try it again. I want to go back to my normal diet. Whereas Americans have a very high likelihood of trying a new food, and maybe not all the time, but 50% of the time, they'll be like, ooh, that was good, and I'd like to add that to my diet rotation, maybe only once every few months, but it was interesting. So even people who like sushi only a little bit, which I realize is not very many people, most people love it, but if you like sushi just a little bit, there's a good chance that if you're American or Canadian, you're going to say, I could do that every 2 months. It's not my favorite thing, but some variety. But Nicaraguans have a tendency to go, why would I add variety if I don't love it? I gotta really love it. They focus on the foods that they love as the driving factor to what they eat. So they eat just a couple things because those are the things they love. Whereas Americans tend to eat things because there's variety as long as we don't hate it. Totally different approaches to food. Those same reactions can happen to the location that you live in. Some people say, well, I don't like experiencing new cultures. I don't enjoy that. So that's a negative. I have to overcome that to get the benefits of that place. Where other people, like me, for example, I absolutely love the culture of new places. And I would put up with a lot of inconvenience, a lot of discomfort, a lot of effort or cost in order to be able to spend time experiencing deeply additional cultures and new places and so forth. And so those reactions are all play into this kind of feeling of being trapped or unable to do things. So in some cases, it could even be simply that someone hates experiencing new food, new culture, new weather, new places, new maps, new guidance, new everything, to the point where they feel that they can't get the benefits that we talk about. And this does not apply to all expats, but a great number of us live in situations where we get tax benefits, situations where we have lower cost of living, where we get safer environments or more options or just beautiful sea views or mountains or whatever. There tends to be these wonderful things, and often quite a lot of them, that come from moving to someplace that we've intentionally chosen. And people who feel trapped or simply really hate the feeling or the effort of change may see these benefits that we're enjoying and be very jealous or angry that someone else is getting them and they cannot, or they feel that they cannot. So this reaction is something that I get quite often, and I mean like once every few weeks, not like every day or anything like that, but something like this every few weeks. I get in the comments of my show, and it is something that when talking to people in a country where they grew up, we get this every so often. When talking to the majority of people from my channel, of course, you don't get this because we're already self-selected almost all of the time as being exactly the people who either are or plan to or can take benefit of these options. And even those who choose not to generally feel a sense, and maybe one of the reasons you watch my show and others like it, is that it helps you have the tools to make good decisions about what it is you like, and to have a sense of freedom that should you decide this is what you want to do, you're prepared to do so. That makes for a really healthy relationship with yourself, even if you decide that moving is the wrong thing for you. I have plenty of family members who absolutely can financially, can from a work perspective, can from a family perspective, whatever, pack up in maybe a few days or a few weeks and move to any number of new places. They absolutely can. However, they like the community that they live in. They like the job that they have right now. They may not love it. They may see things that we do. They see the ocean that we live on and they're like, whoa, I do like that. I wish I had that. And they see the garden that we have behind us, right? And they're like, oh, love that garden. Would love to be there. And they see us here and they're like, family's there. We'd love to be near our family. All those things are true, but they say, but I have to weigh that against the negatives, and they weigh it and they make a measured decision. And when people do that, they tend to not feel jealous. They don't tend to feel angry about people who have moved because they know that they can. And at more or less a moment's notice, they could change their minds and say, well, I'm going to do that too. Just like when, I grew up in New York, and when someone said, I'm going to Chicago for the weekend, oh, sure, there's a bit of me that's like, oh, I'm sort of jealous. I'd like to go to Chicago for the weekend. But the reality is I could always jump in a car and go to Chicago for the weekend if that's what really mattered. I could even take a train or like a $50 flight, probably more, but you get the point. It wasn't something that I couldn't do. It's that I said, oh, I would like to be in Chicago for the weekend, but I don't really want to pay for the flight or sit on a plane for an hour. So I'm not going to do it, right? So I didn't, but it was there and available to me. And because it was so available to me, that someone else did it Sure, I enjoy, or I'm jealous that they're getting a fun weekend that I'm not getting. Of course, right as I'm doing this. One of my best friends is hanging out in Lima, Peru for the weekend, just going around, doing some sights, going to some parties, having some great food. Lima is totally known for its food scene. And am I jealous? Absolutely. But could I go to Lima at any time that I want and go do those same things for a weekend? Absolutely. It's very easy and cost effective for me to do. So while I'm like, oh, I wish I could be there, if I really wished, I would be there, right? So that gives you an important perspective. And so most of you guys who are not here are in that category, and it keeps you from having like a negative jealous feeling. But if you're not in that category, so probably not watching this video, but I'm important for a couple of reasons why I'm making this video, then there's a chance that when you see anybody experiencing these benefits, getting this wonderful life, there's aspects of it that are so strong and you wish you could have them. And whether it's something out of your control or something inside of you that is stopping you from being able to take advantage of these things as well, that creates an animosity. That creates a negative jealousy where it's not just like, ooh, I like his garden and I like how close he is to the ocean. Well, why aren't you making that happen for yourself? If you like that I have it, you could have it too. Well, no, I'm scared of travel. I'm scared of a new country. I'm scared of learning a language. All things that I had to do, right? I had to do those things. I had to overcome those fears. Now, for me, those things were relatively easy to overcome the fear. I'm not saying that like learning a new language, I'm terrible, right? But it didn't scare me. It just takes a lot of work and I'm not very good. But for some people, that is a crippling fear. And that crippling fear will really often, as fear does, turn into anger or manifest as anger. And so because of that, what we see very often, for me, it's mostly in the forums. People will lash out. And when people lash out of fear, you can be sure that their lashing is going to be illogical and crazy. But it's not because they're illogical and crazy. That's how all humans are, right? Accept this about humanity, everybody. It's just how we are. But when they're lashing out, they tend to be exceptionally irrational and crazy and say wild things that make no sense and say quite often things to me that it should be outrageously obvious don't make any sense, because they'll try to tell me about things about me. Right? They'll say, oh, your house actually is expensive. Really? Because I pay the bill. Well, you're actually not getting this weather, or you actually can and can't do these different things. Like, you do realize I do the things you say I can't do every day. And I live in the place you say I can't live in every day. And you know, I've been here for years, and I just had an interaction like this, where someone is trying to tell me all these things about where I am and all these things about where I have businesses and work all the time that are demonstrably not true and logically not true. And there's no foundation for the things that they're saying. But it's clear in this particular example that this is someone who is, yes, could be a paid troll or just some really rotten person, but far, far, far more likely is that this is a person who is watching the show or has sought it out because they're feeling someone has reminded them that there are people who are getting this really great life that this person doesn't have, but that they're jealous of. And they found my channel and are feeling anger because they feel trapped or they've missed out on these opportunities. And so instead of having this positive reaction of, ooh, I should ask Scott, how could I fix these things that feel like they're limiting for me? And maybe they don't have things that can be fixed, right? Oh, I have to be here for medical reasons. I have to take care of this family member. There's no one else to do it. I have obligations. Or, you know, maybe they could leave it, but they would have to abandon somebody, right? Something like that. So often, instead of having a healthy interchange and trying to say, oh, I'm really sad that I can't do that, or I'm curious how I could possibly do it. Instead, they're angry. They're angry at me that I'm taking advantage of life, and angry at the system that makes it possible for some people. There's this anger. And then, of course, that turns into these irrational rants. So the things that I want you guys to be aware of is, yeah, I see it in the forums, and it comes up on a regular basis. Now, many times we end up silencing those people so that you don't see those just hateful rants going on. Sometimes they're pretty constructive and sometimes they're really terrible, so we balance that, right? But what you're very likely to experience, and this is where it gets important, is not that you're going to run into some people on Reddit or YouTube forums where they're going to be giving you this backlash that really makes no sense. So you'll probably quickly get used to that and be like, what are these people talking about? But what you will get is in real life, especially in real life, because there you don't have this filter. When you're on my YouTube channel, if anyone's going to have this negative like anger about you or me taking advantage of being able to live abroad, they're Someone had to go out of their way to find this material in order to lash out. So yes, it'll happen, but it's rare. But when you start talking to neighbors or family members and just normal people that you interact with in everyday life, your employer, coworkers, and so forth, the chances that those people feel trapped, have some level of fear that makes them, or life events that truly do make them trapped, or just a fear that keeps them from feeling like they can go on and do these things. They just don't have the same mental position to allow themselves to go try a new country, to go try a new city, to go try a new job, to try a new lifestyle, right? Those things are scary or overwhelming or crippling. They have a very high percentage of being likely to have this lashing out of anger. Now, they may not suddenly turn angry and like attack you. That's not what we're saying. But you will very likely get people, and most of you have probably witnessed it. They will start repeating obvious fake news. They will start making wild claims about, who knows, governments, safety, police, military, weather, crazy stuff, making up history, all kinds of things. They'll start linking to known fake websites like fake news sites or the U.S. State Department sites, right? Things that do propaganda. They will come up with any way to try to stretch the truth or make something up, find fake news reports that are clearly not from the region, and they will deny shows like this where today we're just in the rain in a garden, but some days we're walking around and showing you the cities and towns and different locations, and they'll be like, no, those are all fake, right? The people who are on the ground filming, they don't know. These people who've never been there, who live in Washington, D.C. and just write op-ed articles, they know because who knows how they think they know? They've not been there. They're not here doing it. They're not on the ground. They're not in our videos. If they were here actually experiencing life here, wouldn't they show up in the videos from time to time? Logically, they would. Of course, maybe they're hiding somewhere. It's not impossible. But realistically, we're never running into, in such a tiny country, we're not running into those people because they're not here getting that information. If you're going to create fake news, you don't need to come here and actually do some research. You can just make up whatever you want because the people that you're selling it to are also not coming here and not verifying anything. So there's no worries that they're going to definitively know that you made it up. You don't have that risk. And those of us who are actually here, we have no reason to read fake news about this location because we can just look out the window and go, nope, that's not happening, whatever it is they claim, which is so funny that that's how it works. But you will find people who do this, make all kinds of wild claims. Oh, it's not safe there for women. No one will check on that. Wait, it's the #1 woman-led country in the world and number 4 safest place with highest equality for women. This is something that Nicaragua takes very seriously, but yet you'll have people who attack that of all things. People will basically come up with anything that's a problem in their own country and say it about the place that you're going to move to. In my case, all those cases are Nicaragua, but it could be anywhere that you're planning to go. I've lived in a lot of different countries. I've visited a lot of different countries, and every country, no matter how safe, no matter how prosperous, no matter how beautiful. Sorry, my camera overheated there, so I had to switch over to the other camera. As soon as people hear that you're interested in going to a new place, no matter how safe it is, no matter how beautiful it is, no matter how prosperous it is, or just how great things, no matter how obvious it is that the place you're going to is wonderful and no reason, no valid concern whatsoever, right? I've been all over Europe. You could be just going to a different state in America. This happens inside the U.S. too. This is not an international thing. This is not one country versus another, one people versus another. Sure, that can be an aspect that comes out of that, but far more likely, if you move from New York to California, you're going to get the same reaction just from fewer people. More people are comfortable with that than going to France, for example. But you're going to get these reactions from such a large number of people that are just angry or jealous, or who knows, the thought of you living your best life really resonates painfully with a lot of people. And it's not because they hate you. Normally, somebody hates you. I'm sorry. You probably have a nemesis. Figure out who they are and deal with that. But we'll unpack that some other time. But what we're talking about is so many normal, everyday people, friends and family. The closer the friends, less likely, right? Family, next level, because they're kind of trapped with you, and there's always a bit of family competitiveness, so some of that's going to go on. But when it gets to coworkers, employers, people at church, people at the bar, people at the golf course, those people, the chances that they're going to feel anger, of course, it's still not most people, but it's a pretty large group. most of those people will somehow, whether reality or just emotions, will feel like they cannot take advantage of these same advantages that you are getting. But of those, it's still a subset who's going to feel animosity and anger and bile rising up because you're taking advantage of them. The same thing happens when you win the lotto, or you suddenly come up with a new business idea and you make lots of money, or you're very successful. There's always a group of people who are going to be angry with you with any success. But some things, simply like winning the lotto or being successful in business, many people have at least an imaginary world where they could do that too. But for many people, the idea of moving abroad to a new country is something so far outside their comfort zone, or violates something that they have going on, some family connection that doesn't allow them to do that, or that they can't work past, that they can't imagine a world where it also applies to them. And that is far more likely to have this anger reaction. Also, and this is unfortunate, when we're talking about moving farther abroad, even if it's New York to California, this still comes up. Trust me, I'm from New York, and California was not a place that we thought of fondly in normal conversation. But the farther afield you go, the more likely that the reaction you're going to get is also going to be fueled with some amount of hatred of foreign countries or foreign peoples that could also play in. But that's just one factor. In most occasions, most situations, we're really just talking about an emotional, jealous reaction that comes up, and we feel people lash out about this. So, okay, Scott, we talked about this, we came up, okay, that's great. What do we do with this? What good does knowing this do? Well, it does two things. One, for those of you who are my typical audience, what I'm going to say is be prepared for this, and be prepared that you may have some tools in your tool set to approach people, and I'm going to use these in a minute, where you can talk about, I'm doing what's best for my family. I'm doing what's best for me. You don't have to lash out. You don't have to go find fake information. You don't have to do this stuff, right? I'm doing research. You can do your own. Do what's best for you and your family. I'm going to do what's best for me and my family. That's a great way to go. Understanding that people are having a negative, emotional, jealous reaction actually gives you a lot to work with. This is not, in normal circumstances, something that you should be reacting to as if they hate you, even though that's how they're acting in the moment. But they hate that good things are happening to you. And that's actually not what's happening. They're just angry that those same good things aren't happening to them, and most likely can't happen to them, or they believe that they can't happen to them. And that is what makes them really emotional. But now, for those of you that I'm sending this video to, or have stumbled upon it, and you're already angry with me, you're feeling this, you can't quite define what it is, but you're not happy by the fact that I'm living in a wonderful country. The fact that it's safe bothers you. You have to come up with a way to claim it's not safe. That it's free makes you uncomfortable, and you have to come up with a way to claim that I don't have freedoms that I experience every day. You have to come up with news that clearly I can disprove because I live here and I'm here and it's not going to fool me, yet you want to come up with it anyway, whether you're trying to prove to yourself or you're just trying to lash out at me and think that yelling at me is going to make me feel bad or something, or you want to make a show for others. There's a few things I want to say. One is, I do understand that many of you, especially those in North America, may honestly feel that you are trapped, and not trapped because a family member needs you, not trapped because you don't have enough income, not trapped because you're nervous, but you're actively scared of your neighbors, you're scared of your government, you're scared of world events. I get it. It is a scary world, and everyone is trying to make money by making it scarier than it actually is. And it's a really scary place for real, but the amount that they're trying to make it even scarier is a lot. I have two things to say there. One, take some ownership. Get out there and make changes that make sense for you, and just remember that fear is just fear. And two, if you're feeling that fear at all, if this is the lash out response you're having, which is the person I talked to today, they're lashing out because it was really evident once we got them talking. They were scared of how their government was treating business. They were scared of how their government was treating the political process. They were scared. And I get it. I totally understand. I'm not saying that that's not a legitimate fear or set of fears or things to be worried about. What I'm saying is that they should not be so scary that you let yourself be manipulated into giving up voluntarily the power that you have to go out and do what's best for you. We were able to do it. You can do it too. Maybe that will change in the future. All the more reason to, when you experience that fear, if you are fearful of your country in that way, you're fearful of your government, if you're fearful of your neighbors in that sort of way, and trust me, people have threatened me because they found out I was living my best life. That's all the more reason to go out and live your best life. That is your sign. You need to go out and action this change. They're showing you exactly why. And the person who lashed out at me today, you justified so heavily why I don't want to be where you are. Right? I don't want to be in a situation that makes you feel that scared. And I don't want to be around people that are feeling that scared. Right? Both, I don't want the factors that led him to be in the position that he's freaking out and just saying hateful things to people, but I also don't want to be around a person who is freaking out and saying hateful things to people, right? I want to get away from all of that, the things that make it happen and the actual results. You can change this. You have that power. If you are caught because of family obligations and stuff, I'm sorry, that really sucks. And I hope that you can find a way to work around that as best you can. And something I say to people quite often, if you have family members who can't move, you got to do what you got to do. If you have family members who won't move, they are relieving you of an obligation that you may have had to them, right? So I know people who are like, I don't know what to do. I have family members that are going to need me at some point, and they are capable of moving. They're capable of fixing their own situation, but they're choosing not to. And the only answer is they're choosing not to. It's their choice. They're trying to force their decision on you. They're the ones who are asking you or expecting you to do this thing. Consider that you can give them the choice, right? But it's your choice. You like treat it fairly, right? Don't just let their emotional reaction control you. It's way too easy to get manipulated in that situation. And for those who are just scared of general change, right? Going to a new country, it's scary. Learning a new language, it's scary. Living in a country where you didn't grow up is scary for almost all people. I get it. But you don't have to be scared. We have channels like this. We have loads of people who try to help, and it's really not that scary. We do it all the time. Many expats move to new countries on a regular basis, and if it was truly something to worry about, they wouldn't be able to do that. Yeah, if you're going to a country that no one's ever gone to before, that would be scary. But trust me, you're not going to one of those countries. And there's only like 2 or 3 in the whole world that could in any way be described that way, and even there, it's really not the case. Every country you can get into, people are going to by droves. Even in places like Nicaragua, where we have very few tourists, we have a lot of tourists. Every day, flight after flight is coming in, with people coming and going as tourists. They are everywhere. You are not beating down a new path. You're not going where no one knows what to do. You're not doing something unexpected. You are following a whole bunch of tourists onto a beautiful tropical vacation. And this is the thing that amazes me, is that if you treated it as a vacation, I'm going to go to this tropical paradise and enjoy margaritas on the sand for a week, nearly everybody would be like, oh, I would give anything to get to do that. And the moment you say, I'm going to make that my permanent life, they go, but it's scary, but it's dangerous, they'll come up with all these things that they didn't feel minutes before when you were just having a nice vacation, and they thought they could replicate it, maybe slightly more expensively, in Myrtle Beach. Once you made it something unique where you were going to get really big benefits, I'm going to get a cheap apartment, I'm going to get cheaper food, I'm going to get better tax advantages, I'm going to have a more stress-free life, I'm not going to commute anymore, I'm getting out of the rat race. Now they feel like you're getting something they deserve, and they want it too. And some of them are going to be like, how do I do this too? And those people are going to be awesome. And some people are like, I can't do that, I wish I could, and they're okay. And some people are going to be like, I don't get to do that, I don't want you to get to do that, and this is where you get these terrible reactions of people who are going to try to manipulate you. They're going to try to scare you. We get so much fear, uncertainty, and doubt from people who have no idea. They have no information about the place that you're going to. I get it. People who've never seen Nicaragua, who've never experienced Central America, don't have the slightest clue what's going on here, barely know anything about what's going on in their own country, but they'll suddenly go from where, I don't even know what continent that country's on, to claiming to be an expert beyond anybody who actually lives in the country, just like that, as soon as they feel they need to block you from getting the benefits they think they should be getting. So watch out for that. But to all of you who have that emotional reaction, I keep saying this, it doesn't have to be this way. You can do this too. You are not trapped. You are not a prisoner, assuming that you're not a prisoner. You don't have to have this emotional cage holding you back. Take deep breaths. Really stop and think, what is stopping you? What things do you need to overcome? And if you can't figure out how to overcome those things, get in our WhatsApp group for expats. Ask, post in the comments, I don't know how I could ever do this. Here's the things I can't overcome. If you have to, send me an email, right? If you're honestly trying to fix these problems, you're honestly going to be able to. But if you're instead just getting angry and wanting everyone else to fail instead of you succeeding, that's not healthy for anyone. And all of us who are in a position to possibly succeed, we need to recognize that just because it's this predictable flood of negativity, that is not people giving us negatives. That is people who are angry at how positive it is, and we need to instead interpret that FUD not as true fear, uncertainty, and doubt, but as affirmation that we're doing the right thing, and that angry person knows we're doing the right thing, and they're jealous. And that jealous outrage tells us we're making a good decision, and they know it. Thanks for joining me. Like and subscribe. If you'd like to help support the channel, you can buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/Scott Allen Miller. I need a lot of coffee to put up with these kinds of posts because I deal with them all the time. But in all honesty, I understand why people feel so much fear and why they're so jealous. It's human nature, right? We got to move past that on both sides, right? Accept it, figure out good tools, how to manage it, and let's get more people where they're happy. Hopefully my dog panting is not too loud in this particular video. We got a thunderstorm going on, and she's freaking out just a little bit. Thanks so much for joining me. Remember to watch another video that does a lot to help the show. You can join. We got a join button here. We got a join button on the Buy Me a Coffee link. We've got GoFundMe's to help out my producer and my old hotel manager who both have major medical issues going on. All my contact information and how to send in a video question of your own, all in the show notes. Get down in the comments, say hello, let me know what things are holding you back from feeling like you're able to move, and I will see all of you tomorrow.